How much influence can a secret society truly exert over a country's history? It's a provocative question, isn't it? And yet, it perfectly sets the stage for our exploration of one such society, the Afrikaner Broederbond. This covert organization, shrouded in secrecy, has left an indelible mark on South Africa's history. Its influence has seeped into every corner of the nation's past, shaping its destiny in ways both visible and unseen. To understand this, we delve into the compelling history of the Afrikaner Broederbond. In the turbulent aftermath of World War I, the Afrikaner Broederbond was born. As the dust of conflict settled, the year was 1918 and South Africa was a nation in flux, grappling with the social and political reverberations of a world at war. Amidst this backdrop of uncertainty and change, a new organization took root, one that would go on to shape the very fabric of South African society, the Afrikaner Broederbond. The Broederbond, meaning brotherhood in Afrikaans, was established as a response to the perceived marginalization of Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers. These individuals felt eclipsed in a society where British colonial influence was strong and pervasive. The sense of alienation and cultural erosion among the Afrikaners fueled the formation of the Broederbond, an organization that aimed to rally the Afrikaner community, safeguard their unique cultural heritage, and advance their socio-political interests. At its inception, the Broederbond's ambitions were primarily focused on cultural preservation and mutual assistance among its members. It was seen as a beacon of unity and support, a vehicle for Afrikaners to assert their identity and stake their claim in the South African landscape. But as the organization grew, so did its objectives. The Broederbond began to harbor broader nationalist goals, steadily expanding its influence and reach. Operating under a shroud of secrecy, the Broederbond functioned through a network of chapters sprawling across South Africa. Its members, bound by oaths of loyalty and silence, infiltrated key positions within the government, business, education and media sectors. This clandestine structure allowed the Broederbond to operate behind the scenes, subtly shaping policies and decisions that would have far-reaching implications for the nation. And so the Broederbond began its quiet ascent, its influence slowly permeating South African society. From its humble beginnings in the wake of World War I, the Afrikaner Broederbond would evolve into a formidable force, one that would play a pivotal role in the tumultuous saga of South Africa's history. Operating in shadows and silence, the Afrikaner Broederbond began to grow, its roots spreading deep within South Africa's power structures. Working clandestinely, the organization was not your typical social club. It was a network, a web of influence that spanned across the country, connecting the hearts and minds of Afrikaners in a common cause. The structure of the Broederbond was both simple and complex. At its core, it was a network of chapters, each one a little community of Afrikaners bound by a shared heritage and common objectives. These chapters were the building blocks of the organization, providing a platform for members to connect, collaborate, and consolidate their influence. But the Broederbond was more than a network of chapters. It was also a shadow government, an unseen hand guiding the course of South African society. Its members weren't just ordinary citizens. They were influential figures in government, business, education, and media. Their positions of power provided the Broederbond with a unique ability to shape policies and decisions at various levels of society. The operations of the Broederbond were shrouded in secrecy. Members were bound by strict oaths of loyalty and confidentiality. This secrecy allowed the organization to operate behind the scenes, its influence felt but never seen. It was a silent puppeteer pulling the strings of power from the shadows. The infiltration of Broederbond members into influential positions was a strategic move. By placing its members in key roles within the government and other sectors, the Broederbond was able to exert control and shape the course of South African society. It was a slow and steady infiltration, a silent takeover that positioned the Broederbond at the heart of South Africa's power structures. As the Broederbond grew in strength and influence, it began to shape the destiny of South Africa. The stage was set for the Broederbond to become a major player in the nation's affairs, its members ready to guide the country towards a future of their own design. The stage was set for the Broederbond to shape the destiny of South Africa. With the rise of the National Party in 1948, the Broederbond found itself at the helm of power, steering the ship of apartheid. This was a major turning point in South African history, and the Broederbond was at its epicenter. The Broederbond's members, already embedded in key positions within the government, now had the opportunity to shape the nation's policies. The organization's ideology, deeply rooted in notions of Afrikaner superiority and racial segregation, became the blueprint for the apartheid system. The apartheid policy was a legal framework for racial segregation, systematically enforced to maintain white dominance. It was a strategy that served to disenfranchise and oppress non-white populations, while consolidating power and privilege within the white minority, particularly the Afrikaners. The Broederbond was instrumental in formulating these policies. It was their members who drafted the laws, their members who enforced them, and their ideology that justified them. They championed a vision of South Africa that was divided along racial lines, where power and resources were unevenly distributed in favor of the white minority. But the influence of the Broederbond extended far beyond the halls of government. Their reach permeated all aspects of society. In the education sector, they controlled curriculum, ensuring that the narrative of Afrikaner superiority was taught to future generations. In business, they held sway over economic resources, using their influence to secure advantages for their members. And in the media, they controlled the narrative, shaping public opinion to align with their ideology. Through these means, the Broederbond was not just a participant in the apartheid system, but its architect. They built an infrastructure of oppression, one that would have far-reaching consequences for the people of South Africa. And they did so from behind a veil of secrecy, their actions often hidden from public view. Through apartheid, the Broederbond's influence seeped into every aspect of South African life. The legacy of this period, marked by racial division and systemic oppression, continues to resonate in South Africa today, a haunting reminder of a past that the nation continues to grapple with. As apartheid crumbled, so did the Broederbond's overt influence, but the echoes of its past still resonate in modern South Africa. The early 90s marked the decline of the Afrikaner Broederbond. With the end of apartheid, South Africa began a journey towards reconciliation and democratization. The Broederbond, long a symbol of Afrikaner supremacy and the architect of apartheid, found itself on the wrong side of history. It was confronted with criticism and scrutiny from a society striving to heal from the wounds of racial segregation and oppression. In response, the organization attempted internal reforms. It sought to redefine its role in a rapidly changing society, transitioning from a secret society to a more transparent organization. These changes, however, could not erase the deep-seated memories of the Broederbond's role in some of the darkest chapters of South Africa's history. The legacy of the Afrikaner Broederbond is complex and multifaceted. It is a story of identity, power, and ideology, a narrative that is deeply woven into the fabric of South African society. The organization's influence has permeated every aspect of life, from politics and economics to education and culture. Its enduring legacy can be seen in the ongoing debates about reconciliation, restitution, and social justice. It is a constant reminder of the injustices that were perpetrated under apartheid, as well as the struggles that continue in the quest for a more inclusive and equitable society. While the Broederbond may exist in a diminished form today, its shadow looms large over South Africa. It is a testament to the enduring impact of colonialism, racism, and resistance in the country's history. The Afrikaner Broederbond, for better or worse, has left an indelible mark on South Africa. It has shaped the nation's past, and its influence continues to be felt in the present. Its story is a stark reminder of the power of ideology, the danger of unchecked authority, and the resilience of those who resist oppression. The legacy of the Afrikaner Broederbond serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay of identity, power, and ideology. The Afrikaner Broederbond, a secret society that left an indelible mark on South Africa's history. Emerging from the ashes of World War I, this clandestine organization was born out of a desire to assert and protect the identity and interests of the Afrikaners. Over time, it expanded its agenda, evolving from a cultural preservation society to a potent nationalist force. Its members, scattered across various sectors of society, manipulated the levers of power from behind a veil of secrecy. The ascension of the National Party in 1948 marked a new chapter for the Broederbond. Suddenly, its members were at the helm of the apartheid government, championing an ideology of racial segregation and white supremacy. Their influence permeated every corner of South African life, from the legal system to education, resulting in the systematic disenfranchisement of non-white populations. Beyond the political sphere, the Broederbond also controlled economic resources, educational institutions, and media outlets, perpetuating Afrikaner dominance and a sense of cultural superiority. Even as the winds of change swept over South Africa in the early 1990s, the legacy of the Broederbond lingered, a stark reminder of the complex legacies of colonialism, racism, and resistance. A story of power, ideology, and the enduring impact of history, the Afrikaner Broederbond story helps us understand South Africa's past, present, and possibly its future.